So we started this workshop along with the CSH in February 2010, and since then we have had one workshop every month. So as it turns out, this is the 100th workshop, as you would have seen in your mails. So my colleagues here have put together, from what I can see, a nice cake with CSH and a nice cake with CPR, and a completely separate thing, which perhaps means that that's the more innovative stuff, which is not related to institutions. But
that's for the various people who come to present.
yes, that's for the other people who come to present. So we just asked our presenters for Nicola, if you can just come up, and then have our presenters for today to come up here, and then have the cake. It'll be a good thing to do. There's one for each of you, so you can have. So we have made sure that yes. And then we'll do a formal introduction soon. One move closer. That's perfectly fine. Thank you. Yes. We're all good. Thank you. Thank you. We'll pick up. You and you won't be the first. Please. Go ahead. Yes. Yes. You have more knives? Okay. All right. So one knife for each one of you. Yes. Right. Right. Now you're fully armed in that sense. Please. It's all yours. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Thank you. Sure. We'll have that taken out and served out to the thing shortly. Come. Good afternoon and welcome to the CPR-CSH Workshop. We have today with us three colleagues with whom some of friends, and in fact we actually visited them in Hanoi late last year. And Pujan and I spent a week in Laos on a common training program. So they are, and so we are absolutely delighted to have them with us today to speak on waste collection and recycling in Hanoi, from Domina to craft villages. And we have with us UN, who is at the Hanoi Agricultural University, Mary Lam, who is with the Paris Region's office in Hanoi, and Hanoi P1, who is with the Institute for Social Systems at the Ritsumeikan University in Japan. So the trust, and as you can see, one of our main reasons why I think this is an especially appropriate topic for today's workshop is we often focus on the glamour and the glitz of cities. What we do not focus on is what the city leaves behind. And fundamentally, as India progresses in urbanization, the one issue that we don't perhaps give as much attention to, and even that's true even for this workshop series, if I go back to the other 99 that have been held, the focus on waste has perhaps been less than it should have been. And so I'm especially delighted that we have this workshop, which is both commemorative and also international, as well as it focuses on something that I think is incredibly important from our point of view of urbanization. It also, I think, will help a lot of you engage with it because you'll find similarities, you'll find differences. Ewan, Anna, Marilyn, and Ty have all been here for last 3 days, and they'll be here for a little longer, looking at a variety of these structures which Remy is helping them navigate, as well as Shankar Gowda. And hopefully, so they already have a sense of what the Indian waste recycling thing is about. And part of this workshop will also enable them to get the feedback from you and see how that structure is going. We hope these interruptions will become less intermittent as they go along, but I just hang on for a little while we actually had a fairly major electrical outage about an hour ago, and I'm grateful for the team here at CPR that managed to get the thing back online, almost back online. So we shall see how that stuff. Before we finish, Nicola, would you like to say something briefly? So we can.
Yeah, just very briefly in this symbolic moment of this 100 common workshop with CSH. I'm very glad that this this common seminar has been taking place for so long. I mean, especially given the fact that CSH, when I knew this, when I was in this center a long time ago, 11 years ago, as a researcher, the director, was relatively active in the field of urbanization and urban studies, and now, I mean, we are still active, but perhaps not as much as we were, even though we have some good friends like Rémi or now Olivier Pell, who is joining the things. But I guess we could do more, and so that's, I mean, that's why it is very important that we continue to have this very important seminar on urbanization. Urbanization is really crucial. India is a country that is urbanizing incredibly fast. Cities are, very important and yet mysterious subjects. We know that they are very productive, but they are also the source of the things that we discussed today. And so, I mean, it's a very, very important topic, and so the CSH is very, very proud and honored to be associated to that seminar. And so, I'm really looking forward to hear, what is going on in another fast-growing country like Vietnam, where these sanitation issues are also extremely important and take different form than we do here in India.
Thank you.
So you want to sign?
Yeah. Ewan, maybe you could just begin while we are together about I saw an initial slide, but about the JAI. So maybe a little bit of introduction to that, and hopefully by then you'll be able to get your slides back.
Thank you, Patrick. First of all, I would like to, we are very honored to be here, to share with you about our work. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to Dr. and to Rémi, and especially to IRD, that have funded our teamwork and that funded our trip to be here, to be exchanged with you. So this is a very good chance, and especially so we'd like to thank to IIT. And first of all, I'm going to provide this time to present our member team. So my name is Huyen. I'm an architect, urban planner, and lecturer at Hanoi Architectural University. So I have do my study in France in urban planning, and I have do my master and PhD degree in University of Bordeaux in urban planning about the question of urban project and urbanization in Hanoi. So and Marilyn, our member team, is a lawyer who has a PhD in France in Paris, and Dr. Moi is an engineering, environment engineering, who has her PhD in Kyoto, Japan. So our team is team interdisciplinary. So I am the leader of the GIE. So everybody would ask me why you are architect and why do you study about the waste. So that is a very funny question. But in our work now, where I teach our students about the urban project, about architectural project, I found that nobody think about the waste. We always think about how to build, how to continue to do the construction, how to build a new quarter, a new urban area, and we don't really think about the waste, about something behind all the new quarter. So that I think it is a quite important question that we must think about it. And so that in our work, when I met Sylvie Franchet, my correspondent in France, so I had to thanks a lot for her because with her we have found the same point in our interest in the waste collection in Hanoi, so that we have started to do some tests with our students in our university that we have started from 2015 with some work with the student like to do some survey around their homes. So I talk about the context and not.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the before to begin my the real presentation. And then we have done some tests, and we find that it's very interesting about the question of the waste collection in Hanoi and waste collection and recycling in Hanoi, because there is somebody to come in our home and to ask us do you have something to sell? Do you have some waste to sell? Do you have some recycle? Do you have some paper? Do you have some metal or something to sell? We are so when I was small, when I was young, for the children, this is quite happy to meet this person and to sell the paper, sell all the waste of the house, and we was very eager to do this. And when I met Cindy, it means 3 years ago, I think what 20 and 30 years ago, this person still here, but a little rare. So put the system. Is there any system of this kind of waste collection, and how does it work, and how we can keep it, because it's very interesting. I know the context in France and in Japan, where we must pay a lot to throw where we must pay a lot to throw our waste. And in Vietnam, you have someone to come to your house and to ask you and to buy your waste. So it is quite interesting and quite precious this occasion. So that we have started our study about this question in Hanoi, like this. And 1 year later, in 2016, we have got the funding by IRD to start our work about the question of waste collection and recycling in Hanoi. So this is a brief schema to show you how we work in our project. Yeah. Sylvie, which is in IRD, and I'm in Hanoi. So we work about our project with a lot of activity, and especially linked with the with teaching, with the training program in Hanoi Architectural and in several other universities in Hanoi, in 3 levels of license, bachelor, and master, and PhD, to learn about this question
and our objective is to do a publication and to organize the conference and to make the diary about our research. And like here today, it is our objective is also to create a research network. So we are very pleased by this occasion to meet the GIE team in India with Pato and Remy and other researchers. This one we have passed. So now I would like to introduce you about the context, a particular context of Hanoi. So Hanoi is a big city, but the question of the collection and recycling, now actually we have no recycling system which organized by the state, by the government. So this activity is only done by the informal system. And
For the formal collection in the city now, it's only carry out a small part of the city. It means only in the center of the city. And another part particular of Hanoi it is two sections of urban and rural part in Hanoi. So we have in the center, around the center, only one-third part of Hanoi, which is urban studies, and the other side. The other side
around Hanoi, it is rural centers, so that the question of the collection is different. The collection farmer is carried out only a small part in urban area, and now in Hanoi, the private sector play an important role in recycle and in collect activity, in collect waste collection. Only one company, government company, who is Urenco, and 17 private company in Hanoi. And all around Hanoi, here actually we have 3 big landfill. So the biggest it is Namsan, who is in the north of Hanoi, and who receive around 6,000 tons per day of waste. And the 2 other is here, Xuân Sơn and Núi Thong, in the west of Hanoi. Yeah.
Where does separation take place? Basic separation. Segregation.
Actually, we don't have the segregation. This is all the waste, urban waste. Yeah, come through, come to this landfill. So now I would like to pass the parent to Marilan, our. To continue by the relation between informal recycle and public authority.
Thank you, Win. Really working? Thank you. So when we talk about Domina, we must refer to a common imaginary, a collective imaginary. For a Vietnamese person, a Dong Nhat is this person. It's a woman. It's a woman who has a bike, or is a woman walking in the street with a yoke on her shoulder and with 2 baskets. And the baskets can be filled with cardboard, with papers, and all kind of recycling materials. So when we study about the Dong Nhat, we must understand that it is a network. It is not just only a category of person we see in the street. Is a very organized network. The term Dong Nhat can be literally translated as crushed copper. Because before in Vietnam, the utensil, like stoves, pots, were made of copper. And so when it is broken, people will sell it to a Domina. And today, the garbage collector are very diverse. It can be of cardboard, paper, glass, metal, but also, as we said before, about food or even hair or feather. And some of the donuts, they pick up household appliance and also battery in working condition or not. And so this kind of donut are mostly men, but they are called donut in the broad sense of the term. And well, most of the donuts, when we consider them, are women. So they walk through the street and they collect, they pick up, and they buy recycled materials. Then they sort it, and then they resell it to an intermediary collection point. Well, the donut is not a homogeneous category. There is a lot of different types. We can divide them in three different types. So the first one is the professional donut. So they are integrated in a structured network. They usually come from the same province, so they don't come from Hanoi, but they come from a coastal province in the southeast of Hanoi, and they are very organized. So this first category is a professional donut. The second category is a person, and because of financial difficulties, will need a temporary work. So usually they are women who walk in the street and collect the garbage. And sometimes when a family needs to clean their basement, they will call a donut for 2 or 3 hours, and the donut will come, clean, and then take for free the recycled materials. And we have also sorry? No, it is not her only payment. She's paid approx from 10,000 to 15,000, which is like 50 cents per hour, and then she will take the waste for free usually, or sometimes she might have to buy it, but usually it's for free. So the third kind is the donut working on the landfill. So in Hanoi, we have two big landfills named Namson and Swanson, where the category of donut will pick the waste from 2 to 4 in the morning in the landfill, because it is a time when the waste truck come and dump the waste. And then the people living around this landfill will come at night with a lamp on their head and pick up the waste. To continue about donuts, it is important to say that, of course, it is a difficult job, but there is a kind of professional evolution. For several decades, when you work as a donut, you can put enough money aside to perhaps buy intermediate collection points. So then you can open your own collection point and start your own business. The donut network obeys to a territorial logic. It's a rational organization. And as I told you, they come from the same province, so they are very organized and they know each other. And the Dongnat waste collection circuit is not hazardous. Each of the Dongnats has the same circuit. They do the same circuit every day, and without encroaching that of another circuit of another Dongnat. But then Huyen will explain to you later through an urban planner approach exactly in detail the circuit of the Dongnat. So it is in the recycling process, there is three types of specialized actors. So there is a Dongnat who work on the streets, and sometimes they are supported by colleagues riding motorcycles, so that can unload heavy materials, and it will then allow the Dongnat to enlarge their circuit. And then there is an intermediate collection point known as a BAI, and they might have the status of a private company or work informally, it depends. And the person working there are very important for the Dongnat because they will direct the Dongnat on the product to buy and the current need of the market, because it is an extremely dynamic network. So lastly, there is businesses and craft village who purchase the recycling waste. And each craft village is specialized in a different type of recycling. Some are specialized in gathering the different kind of waste, and some in producing goods out of it. Now I will talk about the relation between the Dongnat and the local authorities. First, we must ask the question, are the Dongnats informal workers? So the answer is not, isn't clear. Because what do? They pick up, they buy, they sort, and they resell it. By picking up, I mean, from a legal point of view, nothing prevents an individual from appropriating something in the streets. It's called like a ownerless thing, is an object without a master, so everybody can take it. This is not illegal. But after the Dongnats, they buy the recycled material and they sell it. So this informality, if it exists, well, it can be under the scope of the practice of undeclared activities. But if we look in the Vietnamese legislation, there is a document, number 39/2007 NDCP. ND means it's a decree, and CP means it's written by the government. So in this decree, called Independent Commercial Activities Not Requiring Registration. In this decree, we see that street vendors are included in this decree. So of course this decree does not state that Dongnats are legal workers, but we can interpret that the Dongnat come into the scope of this decree, which means that this activity is legal. But in the streets, we can feel tensions between Dongnats, local authorities, and police. And the reason given by the authorities is very different. Sometimes it's for unauthorized occupation of the public roads. Sometimes it's for degradation of public space. Of course, Dongnat needs some space to sort the waste. They sit on the pavement and they need place. So there is tension, and in Vietnam, when there is a kind of situation like that, agreements must be reached. So people will negotiate, and actually things are more settled by social norms more than legal text. In Vietnam, we have a word, a very interesting word, which is a thông cảm, which means, please understand me, put yourself at my place. You know my interests, you know the problems I have, the issues I have. So to give a basic example, it's really simple. In front of the police, the Domnat will say, please, thông cảm, you understand me, I have my job, I need place to sort waste, and I need money for my family, etc. The police will say, please, thông cảm, you know, I have to obey to the law. I have my hierarchy. If an inspector comes, what would I say? And so that's where it gets interesting, because usually we will not look at the law and say, oh, this is forbidden for Domnat, nobody can go there. The police might say, okay, this place you can't, but go over there. Or he will say, oh, at 4 there is an inspector of the district, so please start your job at 5. There's always a mutual agreement. Now, when we talk about the relation between Domnat and it can, of course it can, but I mean, it is one of the arguments, but it is not the whole argument. And as I told you, the Domnat is a whole network, so people know each other and they have very good connections. So it is not just one simple person in front of the police, in front of the administration. It is a whole family, a whole community. So that's how they can discuss, and the balance of power is, well, can be different each time. Now concerning the relation with the central government. The relation is quite ambiguous because the authority need this network, but they refuse to recognize them. They need this network because Hanoi has a huge problem of waste volume. All of the landfills are full, and 2 of the main landfills, they are thinking about an expansion. It is completely full, and land in Vietnam is expensive. So expanding means they will need a lot of money. And in this network, the Domnat network, thanks to them, well, the local authorities won't have to collect and finance the transportation of all of this volume of waste. So despite these shortcomings, we can say that Domnats play a part in the public service, and they are dynamic. It is spontaneous, and it is functional. Because in Vietnam there is no public recycling process. There is not a state-owned enterprise who do all the recyclings. There is the Domnat. So there is an undeniable dynamics between the Domnat and the official workers. Actually, the official workers, their salary is quite low. So what the administration do is that they allow the official workers to pick up the waste and to keep it and to sell it. So it's an incentive for their work. So between them and the Domnat, it might be a competition, but sometimes it might be also with mutual aid. For example, this picture, we see a Domnat, but in an official collection point. And the official workers, when they collect the waste, they can sell it to the Domnat, and then the Domnat will sell it to a collection point. So there is always a dynamic between the Domnat and the official workers. And in large deposit centers, such as Namsen or Swensen, the official agents, they gather what I can call like the first quality waste. And the Domnat, when they come at night, they will gather not the second, but the very last quality. This is the lowest category of Domnat, because before the waste has been picked up by the Domnat in the city center, by the official workers in the city center, by the official workers on the landfill, and then they are the last one. First, I can talk also about different kind of cooperation between Domina and the official procedure. In Vietnam, we have a program called the Small Plan. And this program is quite interesting. It's a program made for children at school. And at the end of the year, some of the school will ask the children to take the notebooks, draft notebooks, old books, gather it in the class and sell it to the Domina. And it will allow them to buy plants for the school, or it will allow them to organize a party at school, and also to help disadvantaged children in other schools. So this is also a relation between the officials and the Domina, because it is a national program. Now I would like to talk about the control of this network. When we ask the Hanoi People Committee or different departments in charge of waste, we ask them, how about the Domina? Do you control them? What do you do about that? And do you do something about that? And their answer is that they do not intervene in this process because mainly for pragmatical reasons. Because of the peculiarities of this population, of the seasonal work, because it is a moving population, and it is a daily movement, so it is extremely difficult to control. And thus the supervision is limited, one, to the activity, the area of the activity, and secondly, it is a control of the residential area where the Domina lives. And for the municipal authorities, the Domina has to be relegated away from the city because it is considered as not matching with the modernity of the development of Hanoi. So they want to relegate these activities as far as possible. And we can find in the Decree 39 that there is a lot of place that prohibits this kind of activities. For example, historical or cultural areas, green spaces, district of administrative and diplomatic buildings, neighborhood of schools, hospitals, religious place, pedestrian roads, sidewalks, or space determined by provincial or district people committee. So there is a lot of space that is forbidden, and also this kind of place is very vague, so it leads to interpretation. And then if it leads to interpretation, it will then lead to reaching a mutual agreement, a negotiation. And as part of the city modernization policy, we have large-scale urban projects. And in this kind of large-scale urban projects, it is forbidden for the Domina to enter. The gatekeeper will say, no, you cannot enter, because it does not fit with the image of modernity the public authorities want to give of Hanoi. So it is forbidden, but on the different side, we see a lot of gatekeeper of this residential area, or housemaid or housekeeper, who will collect, go out of the place and sell it to the Domina. And then there is a second and less visible control, which is the control of the administrative attachment. The residential, as a citizen of Vietnam, everybody is subject to a system of administrative attachment called ho-ho. It is not exactly the same as in China. It is, but the principle is the same. And with this paper, what you can do is put your children at school. You can use public facilities with a lower fare. You can work, and without a ho-ho. You cannot work, for a long time. It's a short-time contract. And also, it is difficult for you to buy land. Without a ho-ho, it is quite difficult for the donuts to do their activities. Because, as I told you, they don't come from Hanoi, so their ho-ho is attached to their province, namely. And without the ho-ho, they have, even though have to register, they have to register, go to the local authorities, and they have to register with photo, fingerprints, all the informations. And there is a file on them which means contain information on their compliance of with the legislation according to the itinerant work. Just a few last words before Huyen will explain to you more in detail the network. Well, Hanoi is facing a huge challenge because of the renewal of the consumption pattern. And this pattern is changing extremely quickly. So now we see young people in the street drinking tea and coffee in plastic goblets. 5 years ago, we never see that. It doesn't happen. Now, the consumption is changing and so fast. Every year, 5.68% of volume of waste, well, we have 5.6 more volume of waste every year, which is a lot. And as I told you, all the landfills are full. And it will be a big challenge for the government in the next year. And on the other hand, you have the donut, which is a network which is constantly changing. It is evolving with the society. It is evolving with, well, to adapt to the urban development. And it has its own economic rationality, and it's a structured organization. It is dynamic, and it's working. So one of the challenge now is to know how to cooperate between this formal and informal. Let's even.
Marina, as you know that in our team, we have a part of our team who is architecture and urban planners and students in this field, so that we try to explain about this system, formal and informal, this system, formal and informal collector in Hanoi. How does it work, but spatially? So as you see, from the household, people bring the waste to a point fixed in the house cluster next, not far from his home, and then someone who work for Urenco, for the company of collect, former company of collect, will come here to bring the waste to another point, bigger point that the truck could be accessed, and then the truck will bring it to the landfill, so that this is the trend and the itinerary of the formal collect system.
An example in an urban part of in the center of Hanoi, so that people in the formal company who is in New South will come
And we do the same itinerary, and for example, with a big part, so 2 times per day, and the small part only 1 time per day, and people can leave the waste only in this period of time. Other the time they cannot put the waste outside in the pile, so that like this, the company will collect the waste and bring it to the concentrated point to bring to the landfill. Yeah. And in Hanoi now, we have count about 10,000 itinerant collector, donut like Marilyn just explained. and they sell back the waste to Jean buyers who are in all over the city, and this informal collect system work with the same way. So you have somebody, the donut, who come to your home and to buy and to bring the waste, the recycled waste. She buy only the recycled waste, and to bring it by the bicycle or to walk until the waste purchasing point or waste depot that we call bai in Vietnamese. And here, this is in this point, people, the buyer, Jean buyer, will collect and then resell it to the village, crab village, next to Hanoi, about 20 or 30 kilometers from the center of Hanoi. So we have three main village to recycle village in paper, in metal, and plastic, who is next to Hanoi. So this is the different point of India that we have seen this. There is a system of crab village that would be exist from long time ago, that have another job, another hand crab. For example, for the paper, before it was the production of traditional paper, and now they concentrate in this recycle production of paper, so that the tissue, the toilet paper, and other kind of paper. And as you see here, in a district, in a urban central district of Hanoi, which is the central point here, the Hoàn Kiếm Lake is here, and we have found 66 point of purchasing of waste depot informal, so that the distance is very near. The buy, yeah, it is always, we are always in informal informal system, so that you can see the distance and the density of the buy in the center of Hanoi. Here in Ha Dong, it is a new, we call that new district. It's next to the center of Hanoi, about 10 kilometers of the center of the Hoàn Kiếm Lake, at the center of the Hanoi. So we find that the bai is always besides the road, the main road, and much more density in the part next to urban part. And in another rural, suburban part of Hanoi, so in other side of the Red River, here is the center of Hanoi, and Domina is here, and Ha Dong is here, and we have the suburban district, and we call also which have the rural status, so that the purchasing by is less, much more less in the urban part. And by the way, thanks to our specialty in architecture and landscape designer, so that we make the survey about the typology, morphology, and we are interested in how is the space and the architectural structure and the landscape, which have been made by this informal system, so that we have identified this is the different point of bai in Hanoi, and some kind of architectural structure. For example, it would be in a under construction villa in a new quarter, so that you see that it is the new villa in a new quarter, and this villa has not finished in under construction, so that the donut rent for it to do this work. Or they would be in a house, Swiss house in a new quarter, so that on the new house, and in this part only in a temporary structure in the middle, or it would be in an old house in old street, so that you can see the by. It would be integrate completely in the cutter, and it is not easy to identify the space. It's, sorry. No, it missing one. Why did it miss? No, it missed. Yeah. Or the by would be, yeah, this one here. I don't know why. No. Maybe twice. Yeah, it's twice.
This, you showed us 3 types so far. So this one, the one after that, and the one after the...
And another one in our cutter. Which is, yeah, this one.
It's there.
Yeah. Or the by would be a very temporary structure, so that you can find this in a land that there is no construction, so the Easter very temporary structure.
They even collect old
Yeah.
consumer durables, machines, washing machines, all of that.
Yeah, it's depend on.
It's a very wide range. You think that they're collecting things like cardboard boxes, but also collecting things like...
Yes, and after they specialize in each kind of material, but always they have the most popular material, so that paper, metal, and plastic. And in every buy, you have the 3 main material buyer by the
Paper, metal, and plastic. What about glass?
plastic. Glass now, we find that before, 30 years before, they buy the glass, but now they don't buy anymore. I don't know why, but we are now studying about this. Yeah, maybe because they don't have the recycle village or recycle place to use to sell this. Sao lại cứ mất một cái nhỉ? I don't know why it's always something. Mất một cái. Không, no. I don't know tại sao nó cứ nhảy thế nhỉ? Oh, no. Yeah. Clothes, no. But there is clothes market, second-hand clothes market. Some second-hand clothes market in the center of Hanoi. But the Domina, they don't buy this. And even very, very temporary, and beside the row. So the structure of buy would be very different, and it's very different, very dynamic, and very temporary. Sorry, I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's probably hidden in your... Somehow it got hidden. Yeah. Everyone stopped.
Yeah. I don't know why.
So, it's just there. So electronic materials, leather, clothes.
coordination between the people who raise the animals and the people just next who work on the skin. So it's quite difficult. We don't have that in Vietnam yet. We don't have good quality sector. And for the second hand market, it is close from Japan, Korea, or China, but not Vietnam.
Like a big segregating a washing center still operating in Delhi, in South Delhi, in Kalanjin Kunj, in Anshan Kunj. And I've been to with my colleague to the Tuborg factory in Mariana, Tuborg or Kingfisher, I don't know. And the manager was telling us that out of 10 bottles full of beer, ready to sell in the market, only 8 or 9. So it's only 1 or 2 was actually new, because 8 to 9 were actually bought from the Cabarilla system. Yeah. So which surprised me for the Vietnam. Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
And here,
This is only 2 glass. There is only 2 glass out of 10 bottles coming out from Kingfisher factories. There is only 2 glass which are actually new, coming from Firozabad or whatever. But 8 glass, 8 bottles are coming from the old.
Can I put something from the point of view of Swachh Bharat mission? What you observed and what we are doing in Vietnam, right, is almost same. We have informal sector operating on the recyclable waste. Rest of the waste is collected and dumped. Problem is not the recyclable waste. The problem is non-commercial recyclable waste not picked up by the right community going in the organic waste and making whole of the waste useless. That's right.
If we can just hang on for a minute, we can finish the presentation, and then there's actually a fairly open
I thought the discussion is on.
because we were fixing their
Okay.
slide.
Sure.
okay, thank you. So we have tried to superpose 2 systems of informal and formal system of collect in an urban space in Hanoi. It is the Sumphang cutter, and as you see here, the green one, it is on the bike.
Waste purchasing informal part, and the others, it is the part of collect of formal waste for collection, so that you find that these 2 systems coexist next to, and it's really superposed. Formal, it is the people who is in uniform and collect by the truck, by the chariot, by the trolley, by the government system, company. Yeah. And as Marianne explained to you how the donut moving in the city, so that a donut works only in a cutter fix, and she does the same itinerary of every day. And we have seen the donut who have worked for 20 years, and always the same cutter and the same, it becomes a real job. And after that, she bring her daughter-in-law, and to work with her and to share the territory, and so that the donut become someone that the people in the culture know very well, and so that they can create the relationship with the people in the culture, even by they come from other province. Yeah. But by the time, by the same itinerary every day, that they can create the good relationship to people. As you've seen like this, so the donut has come to the door of this woman because they know each other. Because this donut, she come around every day, so that she now know the people here, and as Marianne said, that this job is only the one kind of job. She can do other second job like the maid for the help. People, every job would be asked by the people. Yeah. So this is very dynamic. Yeah. And to use the public space, the donors have negotiated and the youth, she knows very well how does it work a space, when does the time of the police pass, and when people agree or not, so that she can use the space for her job to segregate or to arrange the waste collection. So after more than 1 year work about this question, we have now do a lot of survey in Hanoi that could give us data of more than 800 waste processing points all around Hanoi, and we are now can say that the two collect system in Hanoi is real coexist. And we are now starting to working with interdisciplinary between the researcher of our group and the researcher in engineering, so that Dr. Hoa can explain you more about how we started our work to exchange and to know clearly about this system complex. And some preliminary result of our capacity of, to draw the map about the waste depot, about the bay all around Hanoi, and compare with the density of the city of Hanoi. For example, our database could explain the period of create of the bay. For example, before 1990 and after 2005, and between 1990 and 2005, because before 1990 it is a period of closing country, and after the reform policy that the country has opened, so that develop a lot, that become they started to develop the economy of waste economy. Other result that we have, because we have do the survey about the material, the product that buy by this informal system, so that we have the information about the kind of production, kind of material buy, and where they come from, and the price of the material that buy by this system. For example, and the distribution of the this kind of material in all around Hanoi by every buy. We have also the result about the age, average age of the waste buyer, of the junk buyer. For example, we have people who have less than 30 years, and between 30 and 50 years, and more than 50 years.
You showed us those temporary structures.
Yeah.
They're not many, because most of these people you're saying have been there for a very long time.
It depends on the date of creation of the buy. Yeah, because almost the buy has been created between after 2005. Yeah. Yeah, because it becomes an economic, that the donut becomes to develop, to have some become and create her own buy to participate in this economic. And we have also tried to know where come from the donut in Hanoi, so that the first result that shown us that a lot of donut come from Nam Dinh province in the southern east of Hanoi, and another some the other so the donut in the same place from the original but in the urban part, almost the donut come from almost the owner, almost the bãi owner come from Nam Định in a province in the east of Hanoi. So we are now trying to treating this database to have another draw to understand of this system and the link between the different factor of this system to know how that work and which is the most important and which is the logic of this system to distribute in the space. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Hoa to explain our first corporate work between our database and the modeling work by Dr. Hoa. Because the objective is to understand the role of this informal system about in Hanoi to reduce the carbon and the environment effect in Hanoi. Yeah. Hi. Already Huyên and Maryland already talking about the related waste management like collection activities or the waste treatment. So I would like to talk about another aspect, another environmental aspect we call is global climate change. So as you know, according to the UNFCCC, is the stand for the United Nations framework of the climate change. Yeah. So the waste sector is already produced on average 2 to 5% of the global greenhouse gas emission. So it's equal to the total emission of approximately 1,300 million tons of CO2 equivalent in 2005. So actually the global climate change is a bit less pay attention. I mean, the developing country like India or Vietnam still less pay attention. But however, the economic growth, the dramatic economic growth in India or in Vietnam, so will lead to the huge greenhouse gas emission in the near future. So currently, I'm a member of the Asian Low Carbon Society projects, which is funded by the Ministry of Environment of Japan, and this project has launched in 2014. And this project includes to making or designing or developing low carbon scenarios, and also we designed the practical program to rely the low carbon society in the target region in Asian country. So already focused on some of collaborate country like India or Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So and Asian Pacific integrated model has been used as the methodology for these projects, and I'm one of the members of this network. And as you can see, we can call shortly AIM is a family of analytical models which are developed by the research institutes in Japan, and this AIM contributes to the IPCC, the intergovernmental panel on the climate change, and discussing on the climate change mitigation action in Japan and also ASEAN countries. And AIM also can be regarded as the research network because this group is developed and applied through the collaboration among the researchers in the various countries. And also the AIM has contributed process to formulate the climate change policy not only in Japan but also this expand to the ASEAN country, including India or Vietnam or Thailand or Malaysia. And also the aim has been involved in the formulation process of low carbon policy through the collaboration with the Asian researchers. So since last year, our project has collaborated with the GA, Recycle Earth, and then we have the very first collaborative research, namely the role of informal sector recycling in reduction of the greenhouse gas emission in developing countries. And the case study we apply for Hanoi in Vietnam. And this research already I presented in the 33rd International Conference on the Solid Waste Technology and Management in Annapolis, Washington, D.C. in last March this year. And in this study, part of result of the recycle was associated with our quantification model. We use the EXSS, namely the extend snapshot tool, focus on the waste in our projects in order to assess the contribute role of the informal recycling system. I mean, we use the survey result of the JRE to use such data in our modeling to estimate how we can reduce or how much GHG emission can be reduced through the informal recycling system using our model. So this integrated methodology between the international researcher groups of the humanity social science like JRE projects with our engineering in researching an important issue is encouraged and carry out our target is aimed to achieve the multi-dimensional, comprehensive, and the higher significant research results. Actually, I would like to explain more detail our model, but due to the limited time, so if you are interested in the very details, so please contact me later. So I'm just roughly or generally glad to talk to share what we are doing and what we are collaborate, and then in the our targets.
Briefly about the results of what you found, about what kind of reductions in the GHG that you found.
For example, in our model, so give me 1 second. For example, the information of informal recycling in Hanoi between the October 2015 until last October 2017, the total amount of emission was 400,000 tons of CO2 equivalent, and in the landfill, it contributes up to the about 90% in this case. I mean the how to say. Yeah, to saving around the 400,000 ton of CO2 emission. I mean, based on the informal activities. So and
What?
yep.
In Delhi,
Yep.
some NGO, but I don't know how do they count, and I don't know how do they count this. As talking of very similar figures, they say that informal economy recycling usage in Delhi saves the equivalent of 900,000 tons of CO2. But I don't know how strong it is. It is Chintan saying that in the report.
Is that 400,000 tons of is what you think was safe emission per year?
You avoid to put this in the landfill, so you avoid methane. So you say
it's basically a methane issue.
It's a methane because
it's not recyclable.
I'm not sure suppose you recycle plastic or you recycle metal.
Yeah.
The impact of this recycling on carbon emission is far from clear.
Yeah.
So when you take plastic, for instance, when you take plastic and you recycle plastic very seriously, then you contribute actually to value plastic as a whole of the economy. And you make plastic interesting. And therefore, you may encourage the production of more plastic, oil, and therefore, because I mean, it's a very complex issue. I mean, I understand for the methane thing, but I mean, the recycling is not very much concerned with methane thing. I mean, recycler, at least in Delhi, or, I mean, they recycle only, I would say, a small part of this. So I mean, I'm not sure to see the link.
Yeah, no, so you need to have a little bit of a...
The link between recycling and
So if you can-
carbon.
You can just maybe we have many more slides because then we can finish and then go put this in the questions. Yeah, because this is because I think this is a good question to think about as to what is the not the detail but the chain through which the reduction in carbon occurs. What is like you had your chain? What is the logic of that?
So the idea it is because in our group, the architecture, lawyer, geography, we don't have the competence about how to calculate, how to study about the impact, environment impact of this system, not only the informal collect system, but also the crab village, the recycle village. One part that we are now developing to study with the environment engineering, it is about to study what is the impact, environment impact by the recycle village, environment impact by the recycle village in Hanoi, and how can we know exactly about this, and how can we find the solution to reduce this problem, this pollution, which is very, because we don't have the competence to measure, to dimension the level of this pollution, so that we'd like to develop the technical and the method of other disciplinary to know, determine about this too. Yeah. And in the future, we continue to work with the informatician about the modeling to think about the solution and some proposal model for which would be applied for the territory of Hanoi. So that it is the next step that we continue to develop by our project. So now I would like to conclude our presentation about the role and the sense of the informal system, that we found that there is something, and it would be useful for the Vietnamese system, that perhaps something that is really small scale, but a real network, and that work because the system of donut that help us, because in the house we automatically separate, we do the segregation in our house, because we know that we can sell the waste after to the donut, so that we don't need to educate, to say to people that please do the segregation. And so I think that it is a good point of this system, so that we can learn and we can thinking about this. We try to develop something at small scale, but really in a big territory that could be work in the case of Hanoi, and maybe somewhere. Yeah. So thanks for your attention, and we're now waiting for your question.